I'd like to call this board meeting to order. That was a shocking sound there. I wasn't expecting that. But it is Thursday, January 15th, 2026. 26. We're flying on through. But before we get started, see y'all notice that Dr. Hafner's not here with us tonight, and we have our Dr. Cooper sitting in. Please keep her and her family in her prayers because they need some deep prayers and support. And so we just ask y'all to give her the consideration of privacy and prayers. So, but with that, I had a unique experience this past weekend. I was called on Tuesday to ask if we could host a few guys. Well, the few guys was the monks that was walking. And so I had the opportunity to sit with them, talk with them, and hear their message. It's nothing about religion. It was all about peace, comfort. And one thing they kept saying is discipline, compassion, and presence. And I started thinking, and he started talking about children. And later, he did, after we met with, sat there with him, he went outside. I always get his name wrong. It's Behukika. And he went outside to start speaking to the crowd. He started talking about children. I said, that's pretty interesting, him relating with children because, you see, they don't have kids. But he started talking about the importance of being a parent. Then we came back in, we started talking. He asked what I did. I told him what I did and told him about the school district. He said, parents is the most important thing because nowadays most kids coming through do not have two parents. The kids that are growing up, a lot of the young kids now, they're growing up with hate in their heart instead of peace. And he's saying that from where the kids begin, what they see in their home life gets in their heart, whether it's hatred, whether it's bitterness or anger. And until they get peace in their heart, he said it's going to take another adult. And I started thinking about our teachers, our administrators. This for y'all to share that peace with our kids because they don't get it at home. A lot of them don't. And until they can change that heart to have peace in there, there will still be anger in there. And once you get that peace in their heart and you show them compassion and discipline, you'll change them. We can change our schools. We can change our district. And he said, Kevin, I'll offer up a blessing for your schools. I told him, I said, you're about to walk through our district. So this was Saturday morning when he said, I'm going through your district. And as we're going through the district, we're going to pray for your schools and your children. And so we had an agreement. He put his bracelet on me for me to remember him as he's walking to D.C. But I also put something on him, and he's taking it to D.C. for me. He's going to take out my Lex2 TITAC all the way to D.C. He said, and I will remember your kids as we walk. The love and compassion that they had for our students in our area was amazing. Even Aluka the dog, when they found him in India, he just took up with them and started following. And I asked him about training them. There's no training, no commands. He said, our peace and love, he follows, just like a child. But the dog would not leave their side until they took him off for surgery. But he's back with them. He reunited with them today. But just the peace and love, that dog stuck with them. Bahuka went outside to sleep. The dog walked right beside him and sat there. But when it was playtime, he went off and played and came back. But just the peace that they had, it truly made a difference in me and a lot of people that was there that witnessed what they're doing. And so I just wanted to bring that up tonight and just ask our schools to show that compassion, discipline, and peace to our students. I think we'll go a long ways. But With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Wooten and let her
Thank you,
welcome our
sir.
2 airport students.
We are delighted to have with us 2 Airport High School students tonight to lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. We have Avery McCrae, who is going to do the invocation, and Caroline Zuger, who is going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Avery is a senior at Airport High School and maintains a 5.3 GPA. She is an active member of the Beta Club, National Honor Society, International Thespian Society, and French Club. Avery plans to major in musical theater performance and is currently exploring her college options. She serves as concertmaster of Airport's Chamber Orchestra and earned 4th chair in the South Carolina All-Region Orchestra this past fall. In addition to her school involvement, Avery is active in community theater and recently performed in A Christmas Carol, the musical, at Town Theater, and is currently rehearsing for Airport's spring musical Cinderella. Caroline is a senior at Airport High School with a 4.4 GPA. She is a member of the Beta Club and serves as senior class representative in student government. Caroline is a South Carolina Junior Scholar, a College Board National Recognition Program honoree, and a 225 Gold Presidential Service Award recipient. She is actively involved in community service, leadership with the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership, and served as captain of the airport tennis team. Caroline plans to study speech-language pathology, combining her passion for service with her interest in communication and helping others. Go right ahead, ladies.
Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing us together this evening and for giving us the opportunity to serve not just our schools, but our community. Please watch over all of our students and educators and provide wisdom to the leaders here with us tonight. We place this time in your hands and we ask for your guidance in all that we do. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
All right, and with no objection, the consent agenda stands approved as presented. And I will turn this next section over to Dr. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Key. First, in tonight's Honors and Accomplishments, January is National School Board Recognition Month. I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of Lexington School District 2 administration and all of our employees to thank each of you for what you do for us and our students and our families and our community every day. Our schools have put together tokens of their appreciation here to show you how much they love you, and it's more than that, actually. But just as a token of their appreciation for all that you do for us, we recognize that each of you are champions for children, and we look forward to continuing our work with you so that we can assist all of our students reach their fullest potential.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Next, Emily Todd, our Director of Special Services, is going to introduce us to one of our very own occupational therapists who has been recognized as one of South Carolina's most prestigious honors. Ms. Todd.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Cooper. As the Director of Special Services, it is my honor to introduce to you tonight Dr. Leslie James. Dr. James is currently an occupational therapist in LexingtonTwo, whose service to students, family, and the state of South Carolina exemplifies the highest standard of public service. On November 7th, 2025, Dr. James was recognized with the Order of the Palmetto, the state's highest civilian honor, for a career dedicated to improving access, independence, and outcomes for children through occupational therapy in South Carolina. The honor was given by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster. Before Dr. James began working in Lexington2, she had served as an associate professor at Lenore Rhines University in the College of Health Science. While studying to receive their occupational therapy certification, she was assisting in advising, teaching, and mentoring students. Since working in Lexington2, Dr. James has received glowing feedback on her practices and work with children from families, coworkers, and best of all, students themselves. Her work has had a lasting impact not only in our schools, but across communities throughout South Carolina. I am grateful to have Dr. James in Lexington2 as an occupational therapist and as a part of our already wonderful occupational therapist team. Dr. Leslie James.
And that is a big congratulations to you and to us, Dr. James. Well done. And finally, I'm so excited to have Mr. Philip Rabin come up, our District Coordinator of Employee Capacity, who is going to share some exciting news about Lexington School District's 2 Rookie Teacher of the Year. Mr. Rabin.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper and Mr. Key and the school board. It's my privilege and honor to stand here tonight as the coordinator of employee capacity. I work with the induction teachers and mentors and some of our early career educator folks. And I have with me tonight Ms. Catherine Quarles. She was up here last spring. She got recognized for being our District Rookie Teacher of the Year for 24-25. And as such, she was entered into the state level competition for Induction Teacher of the Year through SCATL, which is formerly the South Carolina ASCD. SCATL stands for the South Carolina Association for Teaching, Learning, and Leading. And they host a conference once a year, and it's going to be in a couple weeks on Monday, January 26th. And their conference is called the Visible Learning Conference, and they bring in John Hattie, who's a pretty famous educational research guru kind of, and talks about a lot of different best practices. And at this conference, they're going to be recognizing the South Carolina Induction Teacher of the Year. And Ms. Quarles was recently named in December as one of the top 5 finalists, and we're very excited for her and very proud of her. She's super dedicated. I'm going to let her share a little bit about herself, but I'll just say that in 3 years of us entering this competition, we've had 3 top 5 finalists, and last year we had Brooke Hyatt from Casey that won the state level competition, and the year before we had Kendall Branton, who was at Fulmer, who was a top 5 finalist as well. So I'm going to let Ms. Quarles share a little bit about herself.
Hi, it's nice to see y'all again. Like he said, my name is Catherine Quarles. I'm a 2nd grade teacher at Riverbank Elementary. I'd just like to say that I feel like I had such a successful first year because of the support that I had from everybody around me. I had an amazing mentor teacher, Ms. Kim Addy. I had a wonderful administrative team that was so supportive, and I also had the support in the district level. And that truly made a difference because I felt like if I had any question that it was always answered by whoever. And I feel like I have that as well going into my 2nd year. So I've had 2 wonderful years. I'm still in this one, and so I feel like it's the same thing. But I'd also like to say thank you to the board for all your support that you give teachers, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
All right, we're going to move on along to public participation, and let's see. Tonight we have 2 people signed up to speak, and And we just ask that there's no profanity be used. We also ask that you do not use staff or students' names. The board will not give any feedback per policy and will receive all comments as information only. So with that, our first person tonight is Mr. Brian Having, and he will be speaking on instruction in the agenda. And Brian, you will have 5 minutes, so thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'd like to raise a few points about grading and instruction in our district, informed by my 27 years as a statistics faculty member at the university level and as a researcher in educational measurement. Grade flooring in our district is the process by which the course grades are calculated from the quarter grades, much like GPA for a year would be from class grades. Roughly, for a semester course, ignoring the final, an A and a C average to a B and a D average to a C, and a C and an F average to a D. One of the reasons for this is simply to make them match GPA in that way, instead of having an A and an F average to an F. Another reason for this is so that a student who digs themselves a hole in the first quarter can dig themselves out instead of having no point in continuing at all, especially in a year-long course. On the other hand, I certainly see the argument that a student gaming the system could get a high enough grade in the first part of the class and then do nothing the rest of it. It feels like the solution in that case isn't necessarily to throw the whole thing out, perhaps to use it differently depending on the quarter it happens in, if that's your concern. It also feels like helping our students develop better study skills and becoming more responsible is one of our goals. So I wonder if flooring should even be used differently in different years, if someone is worried about its effects. A few other related notes. Our district does not have a floor on individual assignment grades, and there is not an unlimited retake policy in the district. I find it odd to hear some complain that we are turning out students who can't do anything, and others complain that aiming for a student to master things is bad. Going on a bit of a tangent, I wonder if some of this is related to the difference between formative and summative assessments. That is, the ones for practice and the ones to demonstrate that they've learned what they're supposed to. And if the retake policies and weights assigned to those two types of assignments are something to focus on. In terms of why test scores have gone down over the past 20 years in our district, which is something that's brought up quite often, my guess is that it has much less to do with grade flooring than it does with our district's dramatically increased percent of impoverished students and English language learners over those 20 years, especially when compared to some surrounding districts, and all of the extra hurdles those students have put in front of them before they even reach the classroom and start to try to learn. Low expectations certainly don't help these students, but neither does kneecapping them after a handful of bad grades. The rise of charter schools that siphon off many students who can manage the transit to and from the school also doesn't help, and is kind of odd given that many of those schools don't perform any better than expected given the students they have and their backgrounds. I would also note that the change to the 90, 80, 70, 60 grading scale is brought up sometimes, but the grading scale is completely arbitrary. A teacher can easily adjust the difficulty of their material simply by replacing an easy question on each exam with a hard one, or vice versa. So it seems odd to me to blame that for changes on a large level. And I note that many don't seem to have a problem with skewing the grading scale by the 5% you add for an honors course or the 10% for an AP one, if those percents matter so much. Finally, as a researcher, there is a value in documents from think tanks, even partisan ones, for seeing what ideas are out there, and especially for finding references to the studies they use to draw their conclusions, unless those studies only draw on researchers' predetermined conclusions. My own research is mostly in the statistical aspects of large-scale assessments, like the SAT or the state assessments, and not in classroom assessment. But the various universities in the state certainly have faculty who have researched directly in that area and who can also refer the interested to in-depth resources about that if anyone has questions. Thank you, and I'd like to thank the district office for answering some questions I had about the grading. They were more than helpful.
Thank you, Brian. All right, the next one we have is going to be Melissa Goforth, and come on up to the mic, and you will have 5 minutes, and time starts now.
Thank you, good evening, and Happy New Year. He always has time left, I never do, but I'm going to work on it tonight. Glad to see you all. November meetings. I wanted to recognize Riverbank. Great job. Thank you for being recognized, and that's when I don't like coming and giving commentary like this, especially on nights when the most awesome school is being recognized. Anyway, November 17th, November meetings are very common in this district for breaking the news. We do not meet in December. We have a Happy New Year and holidays. Most are already in holiday mode or just trying to get there. Even on November 20th, I sat this one out for my own son's birthday. So it was a surprise with the announcement after executive session of the retirement of our current superintendent. And while I'm totally unsure and rightfully unprivy to the complete reasoning behind that retirement, because it is an employee of this district, I just knew that there had to be more to it. And so while I was at the federal courthouse following R.J. May's trial and sentencing, that was yesterday, I decided to check the Allison Bars versus Lexington County School District 2 lawsuit for recent updates, and found that on November 17th, there were depositions, there were so many messages, there were a couple of pictures, just a big mess, and so much more than the most recent press covering the issue from February and March 2024. February 28th, 2024, Post and Courier reported lawsuit, LexingtonTwo official fired for reporting harassment. March 18th, 2024, LexingtonTwo school employee files sexual harassment lawsuit. I'm concerned about the separation agreement involved in this lawsuit. Some of these separation agreements, as of the past few years, seem to serve the reputation of the district, its administrators, and the Board of Trustees, rather than the stakeholders, the students, community, and most importantly, its other employees, our teachers and staff. I'd like to know, obviously can't answer tonight, but what role did the Board of Trustees play in the execution approval of these separation agreements? Was City of Casey ever notified about the complaints about their current employees that came from LexingtonTwo, especially now that such accusations are public record? In her deposition, our superintendent designee mentioned that a recruiter for Crocker's next employer, Calhoun County, did call to ask about employment. And he has since been arrested, not convicted, but arrested on charges of embezzlement and criminal misconduct at that next employer with Calhoun County. In those depositions, right here, there are accusations of illegal drug exchanges on property, mishandling of Title I funds, which is a huge concern for me. It's never once been mentioned in the year that I've served on the Title I committee for this district. We put our names on the line to volunteer. Mishandling of confidential employee complaints submitted to the Board of Trustees. Our current superintendent joined us in June 2022. The lawsuit states that's the same month that Ms. Bars joined LexingtonTwo. A few months later, PACE for Lex 2 was created in August 2022, and we have all been on a ride in this district ever since. R.J. May did participate and post online with some of you in that group, by the way. I did not forget that. Also in August 2022, that's when those budget accusations came from Ms. Kessler about activity buses and the district not being honest with taxpayers on spending intentions. Was law enforcement ever brought in to properly investigate any of these accusations? Was a female employee subjected to possible voyeurism during business hours protected or properly informed? Were surveillance privileges updated or updates given to all staff so they can feel more secure? How much is our district paying in legal fees to not only respond, but also possibly settle cases like these? In this particular case, I hope you don't. I can't believe this is a lawsuit. These 4 minutes are not enough. There are so many questions, but we also need answers. And I just wanted to make you all aware that I see this case. I'm embarrassed by this case, and you all should be too. And I cannot believe the conduct of these former employees or the efforts to conceal that conduct. public@lex2.org is gone, by the way. That email does not work. That's a concern. And while my observations lead me to believe that our current HR leader is by far one of the most professional of the bunch, these events occurred under her watch as well. The stakeholders of this district deserve transparency as well as a superintendent application process filled with integrity and promise for improvement. And I'm not talking about MAP scores or school report cards. I'm talking about conduct. The next superintendent should get a better reign of committees and subcommittees as well, but we'll cover that next month. I have 20 seconds left. Thank you and have a good night.
All right, thank you. We will move on along into administrative reports, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cooper for a superintendent report.
No, sir, we're going to go right over to finance with Ms. Strickland, please.
Okay.
Good evening to everyone. Last week I uploaded the November and the December financials. Are there any questions about those?
Any questions? All right, without objection, the monthly financial reports are set as presented. All right, we're going to move on into our human resource report, and we're going to turn this over to Ms. Hucks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members, Dr. Cooper, good evening. I do have two separate reports here I want to share with you. Our vacancies for the current school year, 25-26, we have 11 total, and you do have that in your report. And then for the 26-27 school year, we have 15 support vacancies and 63 total teacher vacancies. That includes general ed and our special ed. And a little over half of those are retiree positions that we posted in December. Are there any questions? Yes.
Of the retired spots, are we expecting some of those to come back?
If the principal, submits their name
So that number
for-
looks higher than
Yes,
it
it's very
really might
high.
be.
A lot of the retirees are still on there at this time, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
That's it. All right, we're going to move on into instruction now. I'm going to turn over to Dr. McDonald.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tonight, our first item that we're going to review is the calendar recommendation, and it's kind of interesting that we're in the midst of 25-26, but we're talking about 27-28, so we've got a little bit down the road. But tonight, we just want to share with you the calendar. As we've worked on it, you see here, this is sort of the process we use for the adoption of our calendar annually, and that starts with a lot of collaboration here at the district level, taking that out to various committees of folks who make those up. We've got principals, we have community members, we solicit a lot of different feedback as we go through draft to draft to draft. And finally, we get to where we are tonight, which is to present you with two options that we consider. Of course, here's a little more about the purpose of our committee, which is to essentially look at drafts that are going to be advantageous for our teachers, for our students, most importantly, as we build out good, solid instructional practice. This year's committee, you can see here, consisted of this group of folks who gave up their time and really probably like me went cross-eyed for a little while, trying to look at all these little boxes to make sure they add up and that we have all the dates covered. Just as a reminder for you, pursuant to South Carolina Statute 59-1425, here are some of the requirements that we have to build into a calendar every year. Of course, it has to be 180 minimum instruction days. It has to cover 9 months. We have to use no more than 3 of these as makeup, or we have to build in 3 makeup days. We have to schedule in 10 professional development days, and you see the other items that we have to use here. Of course, our flexibility is that we use the modified school year calendar option in order for us to be able to complete that semester prior to winter break. This year's committee produced 2 drafts, which you have before you. And just to give you a little bit of feedback from the group who had a chance to look at this, you can see here we put out a survey to the district staff, to all staff members, and asked them to provide us with feedback as we refined these drafts and really got them down to what we're presenting to you tonight. You can see here we had a lot of folks participate. There were 168 responses to the survey that we sent out, which mostly was made up of our teachers. And we know that they know quite a bit about what's going to be best for our kids, and they provided beautiful feedback. Some examples of the feedback that we received included things like, please keep that week off at Thanksgiving. We need that. Lots of folks commented about the fact that we are able to complete that semester prior to winter break, especially, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist. We know that's our high school folks who are talking about get it done before we leave so we don't have to deal with it when we get back. Our teachers did share a lot of thought on preferring a later start date, but also they would then say, we recognize it's not possible to get any later in order for us to get all these things done. And I think it's resounding. Our folks really talked a lot about having some mini breaks as we can across the year. Of course, some of the things that we took into consideration is we wanted to try to be finished by Memorial Day again. That gives our teachers and our students a lengthy time off for them to recuperate, for them to enjoy the summer, and then be prepared to come back to school. We also looked at neighboring districts. A couple of our neighbors are either in process of developing their 27-28 or they've already adopted it. So we looked at those as well. We also, and I'm so glad that I work in a district that agrees with this, of not starting on a Monday, because it is a tough week when we do that for kids, most importantly. And so we work to not include that Monday start date. We wanted to make sure that spring break is later in the year, and that, of course, we space those breaks out. So after taking all the considerations and the feedback, the committee reviewed those pieces, and tonight have recommended to you that you consider adopting Calendar B as presented as our calendar for 27-28. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Liz?
First of all, thank you and the committee for all the work and effort that you put into this. Could we consider, and I may be incorrect, but maybe adding someone from the Innovation Center, maybe the staff, just so they can give their input on their projects and timelines and stuff like that? That was just one thing I was going to suggest.
Sure, we can certainly look at that for next year. And they did, of course, have the opportunity to provide that feedback. So,
Okay.
and I will say there were some comments from Innovation Center
All right,
folks.
appreciate it.
Any other questions? Ms. Wooden?
So I just want to make sure. So option B is the one that had the most votes?
It is, it
Okay.
is.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the school calendar for school year 2027, 2028, option B, as presented by administration.
We had a motion and a second, but we still had a question from Mr. Bray.
You're good. Was there an option, well, two questions for you. First one is, do you feel it's imperative that we get a or approval of this early with as much that is changing in the world of education?
So I think what we tried to do was to look at the districts around us, and most of our districts around us are also 2 years ahead. The feedback that I got last year after you all voted and approved this, I hope you received some feedback, but I had several parents who said, thank you for approving this 2 years out. We can make plans better. Teachers who said, it's nice to know further out what we can do. We can never predict what's going to come, but certainly we think that this gives us some flexibility to be able to do things. One of the best examples, I think, came in this year. We had to adopt some new professional development requirements. And so our calendar allowed us to do that without having to revisit it. We had that time built in. We were able to do things. So we do believe that staying 2 years out will keep us in line with everyone else. But most importantly, it allows our district to make some really solid preparations.
Thank you. Second question is, I think last year at this time when we voted on next year's policy, I mentioned that I would love an option C to have a true modified year-round where we're hitting one day of every month and we're putting that extra week in have 1 week off in each quarter. Did that happen?
We had some options that could have looked at that. The committee did not express a major interest in that model. The feedback did not support that. There were comments about more of a year-round schedule. In fact, a couple of teachers even sent some other districts in the state, but we felt that these two captured the essence of what the district collaborative really tried to put forward.
Can we get a copy of that feedback?
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Dahl, you had a question?
Mr. Bray had the same question I did.
Okay. Anything else? Ms. Castles?
I was going to add, I know coming from Hebron Day School, a lot of our neighboring preschools and early childhood places, we used to be the last people to put things out, and they form their schedules around some of the things that we do, so I know they're very appreciative of it too. So thank y'all.
Any other questions? All right, I had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion carries 6-1. All right, still Dr. McDonald.
Still me. All right.
Still you.
Tonight, we present to you for approval the South Carolina Identified Underperforming Schools plans. And so just want to update the board and just give you a little bit of reminder about how we get here. Of course, this was established under South Carolina Statute 59-18-16-15, which essentially says that any school that is rated as unsatisfactory or below average is designated as a underperforming school, and as such must submit annually a plan to the South Carolina Department of Education. That plan has to be approved by the Board of Trustees in order for it to be accepted by the department. Some of the things that go into this planning, of course, we meet with our principals, we work with them on their data, we take that report card, we really look hard at how do we build goals that we can work toward, how do we put strategies in place to help us be successful, and do that within the confines of what we have as a district strategic plan, but also as a school improvement plan. These plans are become a part of that strategic plan. Again, these have to be approved by you by January 30th per the statute. Also, from there, we will provide you with 4 updates as we go through the next 12 months as to the progress of these schools. This is our continuous improvement model as a Lexington School District 2 group. So we are constantly looking at how do we utilize our leadership, build that culture, how do we support all of that sustainability part of continuous improvement. This is our problem-solving model. So we've tried to attack this over the last year and a half as really, it's an opportunity problem, it's a challenge. And so we work through this model. We meet about every 2 months with our schools to track their progress, to look at how they're doing, how they're progressing, but also looking at what adjustments need to be made, what additional supports can be provided using this same kind of thinking model. Again, we'll provide you with an update in March, June, September, and November as to the progress we're making toward these goals that we've set forth in these plans. And of course, our work as a district is this year. Last year, we told you 30, 60, 90. This year, the state has changed that to 45, 90, and 135. So looking at it a little bit differently, they've made some changes to the plan itself in terms of the form, the document, the requirements. Our division works very closely with our schools to provide those additional supports and resources as they're working, but also really helping make sure that if there are modifications that we need to make, if there are additional tools that the school needs, we make those available. And we really try our best to work very focused on how do we strategically improve that student achievement. So tonight, I'm going to share with you the 4 schools' plans so that we'll have a chance to see that. And essentially, I'm going to ask the 4 principals to come up in case you have questions as we go. And we'll start. I'm going to first hit Congaree. You have a copy of this. I know it's very small. But this year, one of the things that we did was when we looked at the creation of goals, we took those report card indicators and created goals around each one for the school. We looked for right-sized goals that were attainable, but also goals that come with some level of work. Each of these schools are going to have to work very hard to achieve these goals because it is very specific. There is, for each school, for each of our 2 elementary schools, for 2 of our schools, for Congaree and for Pine Ridge, these goals are focused on SC Ready first, for them to be able to improve that math, the language arts, and the science achievement. Also, there is a component there, of course, for our multi-language learner group for their progress, our overall student progress, how are they growing, how are they achieving, and then finally for the climate. So every school's goals are going to look the same with different numbers, which is what you have in the packet that we've provided. We feel like by standardizing these goals, we can stay more focused and committed to really looking at how we can track that progress, but also how do we build in those strategies to support it. For Pine Ridge, very similarly, we're looking at that on average 3 to 4% growth. We created a formula for how we created this. We recognize that if we can get movement in 2, 3 of these areas, we won't have to talk about schools being underperforming anymore. And so it's important for our schools and our leadership especially to stay focused and committed to getting these kinds of results. For our high schools, it's a little more information. There are 6 goals for each of the high schools, and of course, the difference here being there are 4 end-of-course areas that we want to see improvement in. We have again the ML progress. We have our graduation rates, which we're working to improve those, In addition to that, we have the college and career readiness factor. We also have our work around the number of students who are progressing from year to year, and then finally, that climate piece. And so you can see here the goals for airport and our goals for Brooklyn-Casey. And so as we work on this, each of the schools had to put together their plan, which included action steps, which included opportunities that they may need to focus in on around each of these areas, putting in strategies for reading, how do we support math support, how do we look at our ML progress, how do we grow all those areas. So our recommendation tonight is for you to approve these 4 plans pursuant to South Carolina Statute 5918-1615. We're happy to answer any questions you may have about the plans, and we do have the principals here to answer specific questions about their schools as well.
Chair, I move that we approve the continuous improvement plans for the 4 schools as noted.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Have a second? Is there any discussion? Ms. Burkett?
I have several things I wanted to ask you about, Dr. McDonald. In the overview of the continuous improvement plan, it says that broad-based community input will be received about the plan. That includes local school board members. To my knowledge, I don't think any of us actually had any input in the plan. Business community leaders, health providers, social service agencies, and early childhood providers. Were any of those people solicited?
So each of the schools share this information as they do with the strategic plan with their school improvement councils, which typically is made up of folks from the community, folks who may fit those areas. That, as I understand, is an example. It's not a requirement that those people be involved, but certainly, and I don't know if any of the principals want to share how they've engaged their school improvement councils, but would certainly love to hear that. I know you all have. Don't be afraid, come forward.
Yeah, it's just what Dr. McDonald said is airports, parental and community involvement is made up of a variety of different professionals, retirees, and just former airport students, et cetera. And the plan is shared, the reasons why are shared, the goals are shared. For example, we spent a lot of time explaining last year compared to this year. So like we celebrated, airport went up 6 full points on the report card, but then we explained why we still fell here and what the work is and why the goals are what they are. So I can't go specific, like not every one of those things was hit, but a lot of, community members, retirees, there's a grandparent, for example, that graduated from airport, all were involved in listening to our plan.
Good evening. As far as BC is concerned, it was kind of the same pattern. First took it to our teachers, met with our students about it as well. Our SIC is made up of community members as well as some business members from our community. We even had a parent meeting where we talked with them about the report card and our goals and all of the good stuff for the continuous improvement plan. And so we kind of followed the same pattern as them, but all of it went over well. Everybody understands what we need to do to move our report card, and so we're looking forward to doing it this year.
So do y'all actually ask them just point blank what we need to do to improve the school?
We get some thoughts. We take in their consideration. We ask them, what do you feel like we need to do? What do you see that we need to do to change? But we make sure they get the data on what we've done in the past and ask them, or kind of tell them, this is what, if we do these things, the school will move. And, make sure they're in agreement with it, and if they are, then, it's in our plan.
Okay, thank you.
I think I can echo the same things that everyone else has said. At Congaree, we worked through our SIC, we've reached out. As a matter of fact, we've had the town of South Congaree, our mayor and our board, town council members as well. But we've worked with our SIC and our community, and we give them information, they give us feedback, and we've been working on the things that we should and put in the plan, and we get feedback.
My only comment for your school, by the way, is that on 2 of your goals, it's instead of saying we will increase to something, it says we will increase by something, like 39% or some crazy thing like that. You might just want to change the word so that you're not looking to increase by 40% in 1 year, okay?
I'm good with it. Let's get 40%.
Yeah, we're good with that. So, okay, can I continue? continue? Yes. So I want to thank, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I think we should make Miss Brown speak. I mean.
She gets the next question.
Please.
All by herself.
Oh, there you go. Did you hear what he said? You get the next question all by yourself. Yeah. So I do want to commend all 4 of the schools, because last year I very specifically asked that you be specific about your goals and to attach numbers to them, and all 4 of you did that. So thank you very much. It's a huge improvement over just saying we're going to get better at something. I mean, it really means a lot when you attach something to it. So thank you all for that. Let me see, I've got everything marked. It only took several hours to get through this. Okay, so I have to say, Dr. McDonald and principals, that I have a lot of appreciation for the improvements that you're making and the effort that's being put forth. Because if school improvement was based on desire and dedication and commitment, we would have absolutely fantastic schools. So all kudos to the teachers, the staffs. I know everybody's trying extremely hard, but in point of fact, this is either the 3rd or 4th year that both of our high schools have been underperforming. And I don't see a lot of substantive change. I know Airport went up by 6 points, but academically, we're really not seeing that. And these numbers are, in my opinion, tragically low. That we are trying, for instance, in Algebra 1, we're hoping this year to have 24.7% of our students make a C or better. I mean, think about that just a minute. 24% of them. At BC, the same thing, 24% is what we're shooting for. This past year, we were 20% and 21%. And I have to tell you that I think one of the pieces of this is that it says that we're supposed to diagnose the problem. And what I wonder, really, Dr. McDonald, is about readiness, about whether students are ready to do the work. You know, if you send your child to a private school, a high school, then they have to take a test before they come to the 9th grade to see where they are, and they place them accordingly. And if they say, you're not ready for Algebra 1, you can't do Algebra 1 because you're on a 6th grade math level, then they recognize that that child has to be remediated in order to take that class. And so I really would love for y'all to tell us, what is the role of readiness? Do we look at readiness, I mean, in elementary school, in middle school, in high school? Do we look at that?
Well, I think from a global perspective, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is yes, and we have to recognize that readiness looks different almost every kid in every school. And that readiness factor, there's a lot in that when you start to determine, is a kid really ready for the next thing? So are they ready for the auto mechanics class? You put me in it, I have zero readiness because I don't know the first thing about working on a car. But if you give me those skills over time, perhaps I'll learn that and I'll get there. So it is sort of prescriptive in that we have to look at really understanding, where does this kid come from? What are the challenges and all the other pieces that go into it, and build that plan for that kid. And that's the work that our teachers, they're challenged every day to do that. I do think that we as a district have been much more intentional the last year of trying to understand that part and how it impacts if a kid didn't have someone who read to them at home as an infant, if they didn't have someone who started practicing those basic skills. The answer is no, they're not ready for kindergarten. But the reality is they're here. Now what? And that becomes the annual part. And we all know that gap widens every year for some things. And some things, when that kid can do this, but maybe not that, that's the part of the intervention and all the other pieces that have to fit into that. And that's what we're constantly scratching our heads. I think every educator does that, is how do I build a plan that's going to work for this kid as much as it's going to work for this class and for this school. And that's what these principals are tasked with every day, is taking it back to the granular part of this kid as much as they look at their school. And so I do think, and so as we work, we start to look at how do we introduce reading support opportunities? How do we, in our middle schools, make sure that kids are taking math that's at a rigorous level? How do we make sure that teachers don't make it so low because they want the kids to be successful, that they're still challenging them to be ready for algebra? When we get those kids who we know aren't ready for algebra, making sure that they have access to some kind of preparatory course that will help them be ready for algebra. It's that prescriptive plan that I think we have to really stay committed to in really every facet. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that from your lens.
As far as we're concerned, where the math is concerned, looking at students when they come in, looking at their SE Ready scores from middle school, looking at those scores and not grouping students, but making sure that the teachers are aware of the students that they're teaching daily. And teachers look at that data, and from that data, they basically make the plan that they need for each student in their class. And it's very hard to differentiate that instruction for the students when you have kids who come in at so many different levels. But our teachers are definitely working hard and doing their daily best to make sure that they're making sure that every student in their class gets exactly what they need.
I appreciate what you're saying, but with all of that effort and what you said, Dr. McDonald, we can only get 21% of them to make a C or better. I mean, think about that a minute. And to your point, Dr. McDonald, we're not talking about auto mechanics. We're talking about you take math every year. And as you know, if we look at our elementary schools from 2nd grade to 5th grade, they just go off the hill. They just slide down tremendously. And I just wonder what the correlation is between that child who in the 5th grade didn't get the math and is now gotten to 9th grade and they're going to take Algebra 1. And they just simply don't have the foundation for it. And I mean, I think we all know that that's an issue. And all of the best intentions in the world aren't going to change that. I mean, if you don't know what to do with a variable, you just don't know what to do with a variable. And so that's why I wonder if we need some other ideas in our plans rather than doing what we're still doing. It's not a question of the teachers. Holy smokes, they're just killing themselves trying to make sure that every student's getting what they need and what have you. But I just wonder, I asked you a few months ago if we couldn't have some innovative approaches to say, is there some other approach to this? And I'll just sum up by saying that I would love for you to tell me what are the 3 really substantive changes for the high schools from the report last year versus this year? What are the big changes?
In terms of what they're doing, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
because the whole thing that comes from the state says that the purpose of this is to quote unquote turn around the school. Well, we haven't seen any turnaround. And so I just want to know what's our new idea this year to try to accomplish that.
So, well, I'll tell you first and foremost, when we talk about high schools, as we've shared before in presentations, the high school calculation is all based, the grad rate, every piece of it comes back to what these kids are doing on the end of course test to start. But most importantly, it comes back to how do we quality track students over that 4-year period. Remember, they're all cohorted, they're grouped together, they have to be tracked over that 4 years. Prior to last year, our systems and structures weren't that strong for tracking kids. And that is the thing that has made the biggest difference. At the workshop, we're going to give you some data to look at that specifically looks at where we're trending right now. I think you'll be pleased with that. That one piece in itself was enough to start the process. Now, here's the challenge. We had 3 years of bad data where kids had disappeared, we hadn't found them. Well, now we have new processes and systems in place to make that happen. While that seems small and not very innovative, it was a big deal to get those kids accounted for and the legwork it took by social workers and everyone else for us to really turn the tide on that. Not waiting till kids are seniors to start looking for them. Those were all things that on the surface will seem like, well, you should have just been doing that always. Well, we hadn't. And so now we have those systems in place to start to track back that information over time, to keep them from coming and going and not knowing where they are and not being able to account for their scores and their records. I mean, just the massive improvement in data quality as a district, K to 12. I think is one of the things that again, while may not seem innovative, it was a big step for us. We were using a lot of paper systems, antiquated Excel spreadsheets where one of you said to me when I first got here, we had like 10 spreadsheets going. Well, there's one. And just getting those basic process structures in place was critical. We can't get to innovation in the true sense of what I read about every night, because I don't read fiction, I read those kinds of things. I want us as a district to be there. For us to get there, we got to get all of that right first. And we are seeing some positive trending pieces there. So that doesn't really specifically answer your question, but I hope at least it speaks to that those pieces are making a difference. We're already, now we can start to see where that can go next. That's the first one. I think if we look at a couple other things that we've done as a district, we've been very intentional about offering alternative pathways to kids for them to be able to get credits. Again, not super innovative, but when we're in a system where we haven't done that before, it's out of the box. Looking at our pathways that we provided for students to expedite their high school experience, that's another piece that's there and it's available now. It wasn't something we had 2 years ago. And so those things, sadly, are going to take time to really produce the results that we want. And we've got to stay committed and connected to them now in order to get there. But we have to weather sort of these next steps in order to keep it moving.
Well, I think all of that sounds great, and I applaud you for doing all that. I just don't see how that helps John pass Algebra 1. I just don't see how that does that. You can know whether he's there or not there. That all makes perfect sense. But in point of fact, I mean, it's embarrassing to me to say that our goal is 24% of kids passing Algebra 1. If you asked everybody in this room that's over the age of 25, they would probably tell you that there was no question whether everybody in their class was going to pass Algebra 1 or they were going to flunk out, quote unquote. I mean, everybody knew you had to take Algebra 1 and you had to pass it. So I just, we're making a tremendous effort and we're putting a lot of effort into a lot of areas, and they're all good areas. But I just think that the academics is just lagging so terribly. And it is just a terrible concern to me, because I think that it damages our students just year after year after year.
I don't disagree with you, Ms. Burkett. One thing I just want to clarify, the end of course test is a single test on a single day. The measurement is to get the kids to be at a C or better on that test. That does not indicate whether they actually pass the class or not.
Well, I know, and that does not reassure me in the least.
I just want to make sure that's clear.
Because if you can't pass the test, I really don't want you to pass the class. So, I mean, that's really no reassurance to me at all, because all that is kind of playing with the numbers to kind of make it look like things have happened. And so I'm just sharing with you that I have real grave concern about this area.
Mr. Bray?
Thank you, sir. I have 5 things. I'll try to make them quickly. Number 1, complete kudos to making the goals quantifiable. That was huge. That was not something that we really had much. And last year we had a little bit of it. And this year it's all quantifiable. That is, if you can't measure it, then it's not worth having. Let's be completely honest. Number 1. Number 2, I feel like a lot of these numbers are ML. And they've been ML. And I don't feel like we're still doing enough to make a difference. Ms. Burkett mentioned the readiness piece. And if you can't speak the language or hear the language, but you're expected to pass the class, my brain, I'm not a pedagogist, but it just doesn't line up. Like, I cannot understand how I could be expected to sit in a classroom in Baghdad and them speaking and me pass the class. Like, it's just not possible. We've got to figure out something there. We're just setting people up for failure. Same if they're not ready for the class. There's nothing more infuriating to a human or demoralizing than being somewhere where you're just not to the point to be at the base level. And so I think that point was very salient. So that's 2. Number 3, you mentioned the gap widens every year, and I agree. And if we're completely honest, you know where that gap widens the most every year? That 9-week summer. But yet we're not even talking about extending to a true modified calendar. We want to look at it. Let's go look at Greenwood 50. They went modified, and it made a huge difference. I'm not saying that's the answer, but not having that debate really at all, is I think something that we should reinstitute. Number 4, and this is mainly at the high school level, are we providing too much? I love the idea that we have all these fantastic options. I think every probably third meeting we vote on 2 or 3 new classes. And a lot of them make a lot of sense. They give that career progression. I love it. But should we kind of consider where we can come back down to the brass tacks so that Algebra 1's happening? I don't know. That's a kind of a question that's out there. And then lastly, for the high school principals, because I both know you well, and I think I can judge this. I try never to talk sports up here. I'm trying to be a board member who doesn't talk sports. But I feel like y'all and I could relate very well that, like, you hate losing. Like, that just, I can tell by the way when we talk, like, losing isn't it. And I can also take a wild guess that if there was no bureaucracy and nothing to this table or to us, if we could sit in a back room, which I wouldn't do because it wouldn't be ethical, and say, give me the 3 wildest ideas to really change a 16-year-old's life from Pocomo or a 16-year-old kid's life from Churchill Heights, I guarantee you, and don't shake your head so you don't get in trouble, but I guarantee you there would be some different options up here on these goals. And that's what I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Ms. Burkett, but I know that's what I'm wanting. I want somebody to say, you know what, this is crazy, but I can't keep Sally. Sally keeps messing up. Same as last year is getting us 1 or 2%, and that's not getting us anywhere to the 60% we need. So I say that in front of this whole group is if people come with outlandish or truly innovative ideas, and not just like token ones, but like this would make a big difference. Don't let the bureaucracy between their level and our level mute it out, because we're gonna need something. We're gonna need something. So all that was rhetorical. No responses needed. Thank you.
Ms. Castles?
This may not be the appropriate time, but I want it on the record because I've said this several times. I want the school board to get on a bus and go visit our neighborhoods, number 1. Number 2, there is nothing like visiting an elementary school class and seeing a child that came in not speaking English, that is reading midway through the year, getting it, and I'm just saying, I also believe our teachers could share where if you set, and our administrators, you set the bar here, the kids can meet that. And I know there are other obstacles, and I know there are things we need to change, but I just want to say that I think we need to go see where our kids come from. I think that's very important, and I want to have that done, so thank you.
Any others? Ms. Rucker?
I just want to say, thank you for the report. Thank you for sharing all the details. You know me, I never want to lose a year. So if there's anything that can be brought to this board to support that will help our schools, we want to hear about it. Please bring it to us. I just don't want to delay in helping our schools and our kids. So just want to put that out there.
One more for you. I'd be remiss, if we didn't give kudos to Pine Ridge and to Casey, because we are talking about this year, but last year we saw great gains there. And many of our schools, we're wanting more, and I think that's kind of what everybody's goal should be, is like we want the absolute best for our kiddos. And so it's going to be tough. Like, I'm sure standing there is not enjoyable at the second, but we also want to be able to say, to Ms. Castle's point, like, Casey, they've had to rank high in the whole state for growth. So let's find those areas, let's shout out our wins, and let's figure out where the heck we can fix things.
Ms. Dahl?
I just want to say, I know I voted for this calendar, but I would like for us, rather than surveys, just to do some research on what difference the year-round calendar may make. There's pluses and minuses. I'm not saying I support it, but I think we should at least, review the evidence on that.
Sure. All right, is that all? All right. We're going to move on.
We have to vote on this.
We didn't have a motion on that.
Yeah, we have a motion.
We had a
Just
motion.
call it.
Yep. Motion, do we have a second?
We had a second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'm opposed. Would you make note of that, please?
6-1.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
And
Please.
Dr. Cooper, this is a hard act to follow, okay? And I'm saying that jokingly, but seriously, the concern is appreciated. We did the same thing at the other schools of getting our people together. We have a little bit more of a struggle at Pine Ridge getting parent involvement, but we're working hard on that. But I would be remiss, I'm back at Pine Ridge for a second go-round. Been there 6 months, and I would be remiss if I didn't at least acknowledge the people who truly work with me. We're a team. 3 of us are new of the group, and we work very hard. Our entire school works very hard to get our kids cared for, disciplined, appreciated, all the things that Chairman Key mentioned a while ago. But I would like to ask our administration team to stand up, please, because they truly pour their hearts into us getting this together. And we could not have done it without Dr. DeBurgraff and Dr. McDonald and all the help that they gave us. But I would like for Ms. Worley, the assistant principal, to please stand. Mr. Wiggins, our administrative, I'm saying it the wrong way. Yes, that. And Ms. Samantha Wallace, our new PLC coach, who is invaluable to us. But all of us have worked together. And when I say all of us, I mean our entire building at Pine Ridge. We have custodians who check on kids. We have the cafeteria workers, the bus drivers, the secretaries. Everybody just plays a role in it because we have a school that doesn't have the parental care and a lot of things that our other schools do, but we're not letting that define us, and we're not letting that be an excuse or anything. It is not going to be, and we will work as hard as we can through the school year and into the next year for whatever we need to do to make it work for our students. But I wanted to have y'all give them a round of applause for all they have done for us. Thank you, and Ms. Burkett, I don't know what to do about math either.
thank you, Ms. Brown. We're going to stay with you, Dr. McDonald. You got one more item here.
Got one more,
You're on a roll.
then I'm off. So tonight, I just wanted to update the board. We provided you with a memo regarding the high school schedule for the 26-27 school year. We recognize that the schedule has been a topic of conversation and some work. So I'm very pleased to share with you all that we have convened several meetings with folks to put together a new uniform Lexington2 high school schedule for 26-27 that will address many of the concerns that we've had relative to transportation, time, all of the things. And so we're very pleased that we're going to be able to move that direction. We will soon have that finalized. We got a couple of times to tweak out with some other components of this, but it will be a uniform schedule for both high schools with significant similarities, which will eventually allow us to do some really innovative things in terms of what courses we can offer, and also ensuring that our kids who are working after those certification pieces can get the hours that they have to be able to achieve those. So when that's ready, we will be putting that out to the public. We want to make sure that our families know that schedule. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to see that. Of course, you will have that as well. And also, I'm also going to share with you tonight that our middle schools will have a uniform LexingtonTwo middle school schedule next year that they will be operating under. And we're looking forward to some neat pieces with that as well, just in terms of what we can do when every sixth grade teacher in our district has planning at the same time. So there are lots of positive benefits for both of those, but especially working on that high school piece. So I just wanted to update the board tonight on that and let you know that that is coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
That was a good ending there for your
Done,
section.
Mr. Key, thank you.
Well played.
All right, we're going to move on into our operations. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Cooper. Happy to provide now the January
operations update from all of our divisions. You have that before you that you've had time to review, but just hit a few highlights. Facilities and maintenance, you see a lot of work here with some classroom and interior upgrades at Newbridge and Casey. Pine Ridge Middle also. HVAC work at Busby. Congaree received a little work as well with some plumbing issues we were having, rerouting some downspouts that was creating some drainage issues. Some new flooring was done. You see some locations there where we did some work with flooring. And then also a lot of our mandatory yearly compliance and grounds testing with our fire safety, water safety. And really want to highlight too that, a lot of this work has occurred since our last meeting in November, which means this work is done over holiday break. So I want to especially shout out Mr. McPherson for his commitment. During his time off, a lot of this stuff has to happen. And so that's commitment to him and his team, Mr. Mason as well, being out in the field, working with contractors, getting these things done on his time off. So big testament to him and his team. Heading down into transportation, we talked about this some previously, but our wheelchair piloting program is up and running very soon. Excited about being a pilot for that for the state with some AI technology, being able to tell if there's some issues with security of wheelchairs on our buses, and if they're moving, we can get some real-time alerts to make sure we're securing our students safely. And then on into some training there that Mr. Sargent has ongoing monthly, really, with CPI training and safety training. Safety is our priority, especially in the world of transportation, so appreciate his commitment to that. Technology, you see some upgrades there have happened, and then also student support services, some highlights there with enrollment with our limited school choice, open now, closing very soon, actually tomorrow, the deadline for that. And then with health and safety, you see some information there. And also, lastly, we do have a committee assembled to look at the discipline code, for this coming year, and be excited to provide some more information on that to you at the workshop. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Bray?
Yes, sir. I was over on whatever the road that Casey and L2IC and Busby's called. And I just happened to, actually I had my kid with me, so we were looking at the playground. The update slide, the table, showed there being yard instruments or playground instruments or something in progress, but I didn't see any of that.
Going back to
the CPIF.
Mr. McPherson, can you speak to that? Some playground updates?
That's the only thing I could kind of look at, but playground equipment at Casey, 50,000 in progress.
So, yeah, we typically do that in the summertime just because it takes 2 or 3 weeks. We can't do it while kids are out there right now. So we're tossing around ideas of what the playground structure is. Casey's done a fundraiser, they're adding 15,000 to that. So we're trying to get 9 pieces of it out.
So we've started design on that and kind of get some ideas together, so that's what that in progress refers to.
Thank you. I think that's all I had. No, sorry, I had one more. Did we close out this building?
Yes.
And did we get any back?
I believe it was around, don't hold me to it, but let me get that number and share
Okay,
with you.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's all. Thanks, Chair.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Warren? All right. We're going to move on into unfinished business now. We're going to move to consideration of second and final reading of proposals, changes to board policy GCQC, GCQD, resignation of instructional staff, administration staff. Ms. Wooten?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve second and final reading of proposed changes to board policy GCQC-GCQD, resignation and instructional staff / administrative staff.
I had a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're going to move into new business now, and that's going to be the official signing of the South Carolina State Board Member Ethical Principles poster that I have right here somewhere under all this pile. I'll just pass it around.
Would you like me to make a motion for the audit so he can start at the same time?
Yeah, I'm probably going to call him on up here.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the presentation of the financial audit for fiscal year ending June 30, 2025.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We had a second. Are there any questions on the audit?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness, here we go.
No, it's not gonna be that bad.
Come on up here.
I just wanted to know, under special revenue funds, food services fund, it says that there was $1 million increase in the fund balance because there were $7 million in revenues and $6 million expended. Where does that $1 million from the cafeteria come from? I'm dying to know.
Mr. Andrew Coleman has a presentation for the audit.
Okay.
If he can go through his presentation.
Yeah, I'm
first.
sorry, he went
No,
ahead
I
and jumped ahead,
understand.
so I thought I had to ask, so.
No, I understand.
Okay, thank
If
you.
we could let him go through his presentation
that'd be great.
first. Thank you.
So before we get into the results of the year, what we like to do here, just at the beginning, just kind of remind everybody what an audit is, what an audit is not, and remember who's responsible for what. So in the financial statements, there's really only a few items that are mine, and those are the opinions. And in those opinions, they state what the district is responsible for and what we're responsible for. So we'll start with what the district is responsible for. The first thing the district is responsible for is to maintain effective internal controls. Remember, from a board perspective, there's really two reasons that you want to make sure you've got good financial internal controls put into place. The first one being, if you have good internal controls, good internal policies put into place, that means the monthly information that you're going to get is going to be better. Because that means the information that you're getting has been reviewed and approved, and that's going to give you better information to make decisions throughout the year. The second reason, you want to make sure you have good internal controls, and that's really just to help mitigate the risk of fraud. I know we never like to think about it, but that is another important reason to have effective internal controls. So the district is also responsible for the financial statements. So that means all of the balances and all of the disclosures that are in the financial statements. So what am I responsible for? Again, I give reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. And again, we say reasonable assurance because we did not go through and look at every transaction that took place during the year. Now, if we did that, we'd still be sitting up in finance. So what we did do is we looked at material transactions and then samples of others. The other thing to remember, my audit does not address your financial condition. All our opinion states is that the numbers that are in there are materially correct. Also, as a reminder, the purpose of my audit is not to detect fraud. We do consider fraud risk as part of our planning, but the audit is designed to make sure that your financial statements are materially correct. The good news is we did issue an unmodified opinion, and I know unmodified can sound strange, but that is the best opinion you can get. All right, so looking at your general fund, you can see total fund balance increased $3.5 million to $26.8 million, and all of that balance is unassigned. When people are looking at metrics of what do you have available to spend, unassigned is the number that you need to look at. So you can see your unassigned fund balance was $26.8 million in your general fund, which was 22.9% of your 25 actual expenditures. The GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, they recommend a minimum of 16%, which is about 2 months. So you're slightly ahead of that. And so we often get asked, why do we need to maintain an adequate unassigned fund balance? And really, as a school district, for you, it's really this first one here, cash flow through the second half of the year. The bulk of your revenue comes in Starts a little bit in end of November, but really December and January is when you're receiving the bulk of your property tax revenues. So you have to have an adequate unassigned fund balance number to carry you through to when those revenues come in. So looking at your general fund revenues, you can see about $116.8 million. The $49.4 million in property taxes and $64 million in state revenue. You can see this is about a 10% increase from the prior year, with the biggest portion of your increase being in property taxes. When you compare that to the budget, you're about 3% better than budget. Looking at your expenditures, $116.8 million for this past fiscal year. And again, when you compare that to the prior year, it's about a $10.6 million or a 10% increase from the prior year. But when you do compare that to your approved budget, you were about $6.4 million or 5% under budget. So also as a reminder, everyone asks, what do we have in the general fund? But in addition to the general fund, you have other funds that you have different items in. So we just like to take a minute, just kind of remind you of some of those. You have your special projects fund. That's where your Title I and your IDA funds are. You had another $18 million expended in those funds. And you also had the Education Improvement Act funds. You had another $12.1 million in those funds. The thing to remember about everything that comes through your special revenue funds is they're generally for a specific purpose. So it's not like you can move all those to your general fund and do whatever you want with them. They generally have, there's a very specific focus or intent for all of those funds that you have to use those on. So looking at your food service fund, you can see you had $7 million in revenue and $6 million in expended for about a $1 million increase. What drove some of that? You're now a CEP, and I believe this is the second or third year.
Third.
And what we have seen kind of across the state is people who are in this CE program, their revenues have generally gone up, and we're seeing these increases in food service funds. So that's really what some of the driver that was. Now, to this bottom point here, since you're over the 30% of expenditure level, the state wants you to spend it down. They don't want you to carry that much in your food service. They yell at you if you don't have enough. And then when you do a good job and you actually have some funds that you've put away, they yell at you for having too much. So I believe the plan is to spend some of that on a bunch of capital needs throughout the district, which will take some of that fund balance down.
Okay, and you're going to report on that to us at some point, I'm assuming?
I have not in the past, but mainly it's for equipment in the kitchens. It's limited on what it can be spent on.
Okay.
But it would be to update the equipment in the kitchens.
$1 million just sounds like a lot to me, is it not?
Doesn't go very far on that equipment.
No.
$1 million is just not what it used to be.
The other thing to remember on this is if you wanted to come in and renovate anything in your cafeteria or in your kitchen, they will not let you use food service funds for that. You typically have to get special approvals for those, and there's a lot you have to go through, and they don't always approve them, but you can purchase equipment. I believe the current plan is equipment. So looking at your debt service fund, you see about a $9.8 million fund balance at the end of the year. Remember, all of that fund balance is restricted for making future debt service payments. And then looking at your capital projects fund, you had about a $21.3 million fund balance, and all of those are for capital needs. Real briefly, due to some accounting standards that were implemented about 5-6 years ago, we have to record your portion of the state's pension and retiree insurance liability. So you can see there, your liability for the pension was about $109 million, and the OPEB liability is about $92.8 million. Are you going to have to write a check for those? No. Where they are getting you, though, is I know when it comes to budget season, and you probably start looking at your salaries and what your fringe benefits are, fringe benefits at school districts are pretty high. And the reason for that is for every dollar that you're paying an employee, you're paying an additional 25 cents into these plans, into the pension plan and the OPEB plan. So if you ever, when you're looking at your budget, if you've ever wondered why your fringe benefits are so high, this is the main driver of that. So just looking at your capital assets, you ended at about $330 million. Slight decrease from the prior year. Again, we did not have all the activity that we had in the prior year for this building. You can see you had about $10.3 million in additions and $13.3 million in depreciation expense this past year. Looking at your long-term debt, you're about $198.7 million, decrease of $9.5 million from the prior year, and all that was due to just making your regularly scheduled principal payments. And when you look forward to fiscal year 26, which is the year we're in, you'll have about $17.1 million in debt service payments. Looking to the future, no changes in auditing standards, but there is one accounting standard change that we will get to have fun with next year. In your financial statements, there's the management discussion and analysis. And what GASB 103 is, tells us that they want more. They want more discussion, more budget to actual discussion, charts, graphs, anything that's going to make it easier to read. So that's something we will have to implement for next year. So looking at this past year, we did have to do a single audit. As a reminder, a single audit is essentially an additional compliance audit that we have to do anytime you receive more than $750,000 in federal awards. This past year, we looked at your USDA program and had no issues with that program. But as we were coming through the audit, we did have one item that we did have to report. This was related to recording some balance sheet items. And this is really driven by two things. When we came in to do the audit, for whatever reason, there were some closing entries from the prior year that never got entered. So your equity didn't roll. We were able to identify it pretty quickly, got it all corrected. So that was the first item. And the second one is your short-term debt transaction. Everything was done correctly on it. However, it didn't get recorded. And looking over the this past year, the statements for this debt transaction were not coming to this building. They were still trying to take it to the old building. All of this has been corrected now. And the finance has already implemented procedures to make sure that this will not be an issue again. In addition to the financial statements, we also have the separate management letter. No issues to report there. Again, summary, unmodified opinion, in good financial condition. One more thing I do want to add, just to kind of let you know how crazy this audit year was. You know, I just mentioned about the single audit. Well, when I'm doing a single audit, the federal government issues guidance. It tells me what I have to look at. A lot of times this guidance is issued in May. This past year, they issued the guidance the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. As you all are aware, you have a December 1st deadline. So I'm happy to report we did issue, you were able to submit your draft for December 1st, and then we have finalized everything, and everything has been submitted, and you're in compliance with all of that. So with that, any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, I just
Ms.
have
Burkett?
two. In the financial highlights, you said that our total net position increased by $20.2 million. What accounts for that?
Okay. In your financial statements, you essentially have two sets of books. So you have your fund level statements, which is like your general fund, your special revenue fund. But what we also have to do is we create these government-wide financial statements.
Okay.
This is where we add your capital assets, we add all of your debt, and this is where we also have to add your portion of the state pension and OPEB liability. That's really not how you operate. So that's why when we go through the results for the year, we don't even bring any of those numbers up because they're meaningless for you at this point.
Okay, and at the very end of the other audit findings, you said we became aware of a finding that was reported in the compliance section. That's what you just reported to us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. By the way, y'all, my husband talks like this at home all the time.
Well, if it makes you feel, my wife's a teacher, so I get the other
You get the other side.
talking all
There
the
you
time
go.
as well.
Mr. Chair. Two questions. First one is for you, Scott. In the CAFR, or whatever we call this here, we have a chart that's on this one, and it seems to be on all of them, for program expenses by functional governmental activities. It seems to be pretty similar across the board. On our website, our CAFR, or whatever we call it here, goes back to 2024. I would love to know if we can get that going back to 2,000 flat. I'm sure our CAFRs are kept somewhere, maybe even.
I think they're all on your website. Yeah.
Okay.
Are they not on the website?
I
Let me look and see.
Work was not fun today. When I looked today, it wasn't there.
Let me look and see. So back
And
to,
specifically why, from 2012 to 2024 for the board, when we go for our workshop next week, if you take that total pie of expenditures, in 2012, we were paying 62% of that pie for instruction. As of this one, 2024, we're paying 51%. It's a 13% decrease in expenditures on instruction. And so every year is going to be different. I hope that we remember that next Saturday and we consider making a policy where we grow that back to a certain percentage incrementally, because we're not going to get there overnight.
One thing I do want to mention on that chart is for the government-wide statements.
Right.
And I was talking, that has your pension liability and all that other stuff, all that other information. Probably more meaningful one would be to look at it on the fund level.
Agree. And we do put that percentage there. That percentage is not as grand. And I think it would be really fun in that workshop, maybe fun's not the right word, but to look at why the difference in this versus that is different, because there's a story to be told there.
Right.
So that was point number one. Point number two, what was the yearly dollar value of that short-term debt that was being paid but not, it doesn't need to be exact. We're talking 100,000 to?
200,000, I think.
Okay. And then you said we fixed it, which is great, and it was being paid. That's the most important
Correct.
part. But what internal control did we either create or fix to make sure?
I now have the bank statements coming here. I get them every month. I have on my, a note on my door to tell me to reconcile that every month. It will
Gotcha.
not happen again.
Thank you. That's all I have. Appreciate you. What year is Green Finney?
This was the option year.
So we have one more, or is this it?
It's up to you guys.
Legally?
It's up to you guys.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I say one thing? I would like to thank my finance staff going down, even to the bookkeeper level, because if it was not for them coding things correctly, and then my staff doing a great job, we would not be in this position. So I want to thank my finance staff and the bookkeepers and everybody that has their hands in the pot, even to the principals for approving the requisitions as they come through. So everybody, this goes out to everybody that contributes. Thank you very much for a good job in accepting the changes that we have put in place.
Agreed. Sorry, I have one more thing. I apologize. Our reserve fund balance, that cash, when it's sitting there high, through the state, we can reinvest that, correct?
We have the cash and sitting in the LGIP account.
It's in the LGIP.
Yeah.
Is that our best current option with the way the market has changed in the past 18 months?
I have not seen where that rate has gone in the past 6 months. This past year, it was your best option. Because the rates in that fund are very competitive, and you have instant access to those funds as well.
It's a very money market concept.
I wish I was a government so I could get my funds in there.
Fair.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And and I leave the cash sitting in LGIP until we need to pull it down to make payroll and to make, our AP runs every week.
Perfect. Thank you. I meant to ask that last month. I forgot.
All right. Well, I need to apologize. I didn't get to back up. I got so excited about this audit, I was ready to hear the audit. I jumped right over the governor's proclamation, so I need to read that and what he sent to us. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, State of South Carolina, the Governor's Proclamation. Whereas education is the foundation upon which the economic, intellectual, and social capital of our state is built, and whereas school boards directly influence instruction in South Carolina's public schools, and whereas the decisions of local school boards affect the present and future lives of children, while setting the direction to prepare all students to be competitive in a local, state, national, and global 21st century knowledge economy. And whereas local school board members work with parents, businesses, education professionals, and other community members to represent their views and create the ideal educational vision for their public schools and students. And whereas School Boards Recognition Month highlights the unique role school boards play in representing their constituents by promoting quality public education. Now, therefore, I, Henry Dargan McMaster, Governor of the great state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as School Board Recognition Month throughout the state and encourage all South Carolinians to recognize the contributions of local school boards to the academic success of public school students across the Palmetto State. Henry Dargan McMaster, Governor of the state of South Carolina. Totally forgot to read his letter to us, but we got it. All right, we're gonna move on down. Now we are going to,
No, we need to
Mr.
vote.
Chairman, I think we have a motion.
Yes.
We had a
Floor.
On the
motion and a
audit.
second, we need to vote now.
on the audit. All right, all in favor of the audit? All opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we at the consideration of out-of-state travels.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the 6 out-of-state overnight student travel request. Number 1, Busby Creative Academy of the Arts, Beta Club students to attend the Beta Club State Convention. Number 2, Fulmer Middle School Beta Club students to attend the Beta Club State Convention. Number 3, BC High School choir students to attend SCA-CDA Honor Choir Weekend. Number 4, BC High School choir students to attend Wingate All Carolina Select Choir at Wingate University. Number 5, Airport High School student government students to attend the SCA-SC State Convention. And number 6, Airport High School German students to travel to Germany this summer.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Got one more.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the administration's recommendation for 2 staff travel requests to attend the United States Institution for Theater Technology in Long Beach, California in March.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, that moves us into our announcements now. January 24th of 26, our board workshop, boardroom, District Education Center. January 27th, Lexington Teacher Fair in the PAC lobby from 4 to 6. February 4th is early release day. February 6th is interims issued. February 13th is in-service day, weather makeup day. February 16th is President's Day holiday. And February 19th through 26th is our South Carolina School Board Association Annual Convention. So with that being said there, our regular scheduled meeting would be backed up to the following week, which will be February 26th is the regular scheduled board meeting. And that concludes our announcements, and we'll look to move into executive.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees enter closed session for the following: consideration of personnel appointments, retirements, and resignations, and legal advice regarding LexingtonTwo properties.
Motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive.
I make a motion that the meeting be reconvened in open session and the appropriate affidavit executed.
I had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendations for resignation, retirements, terminations, new appointments, and hires.
Had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration's recommendation to report to the South Carolina Department of Education, report of breach on employee 10 and 11.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we report employee 12 and 13 of unprofessional conduct to the South Carolina Department of Education.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we allow the superintendent to enter into an agreement to move forward with property matters.
Had a motion and a
Do
second.
we want it to be superintendent or do we want it to
We said
be
so.
administration?
I can amend that we make a motion to allow the superintendent and her administration to move forward on property matters.
Second.
All right, had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Got a motion and a second. We are out of here.
Great meeting.